Carly Rae Jepsen is a name that probably sends a rush of nostalgia through your veins. Whether it be from her playfully high-energy iconic track Call Me Maybe that had the early 2010s on a gravitational pull, her appearance on Canadian Idol, her collaboration with Owl City, or one of her many major other hits, there's no doubt she left her mark. But her presence has since faded as the sonic landscape and herself have changed. Transforming the pop genre is no easy task and not one that an artist may do more than a couple of times. Since the major success of Call Me Maybe, Carly hasn't been just lying around waiting for the next big hit, but she hasn't been front and center of the music industry for many either, with people probably wondering what happened to her. After all, it's been a decade since that track. However, recently she's captured a lot of attention with her new album, even rivaling another famous pop singer. And it has got many thinking, is this her major comeback? Carly Rae Jepsen is a 36-year-old musician. Titled the People's Pop Star, she has always had a way of captivating people's attention with her subversively catchy lyrics, slick musical arrangements, and her extremely positive attitude. But the sound people know her for is not at all what she started out with. In fact, her debut album was a completely different genre and tone. Before we answer whether she has made that comeback and what the album means now and for the future, I think we need a little bit of background. Carly grew up as the middle child in a small town in British Columbia. During her secondary school days and throughout her childhood, she had found a passion for music and theater, starring in several student productions, and yes, I mean as the main character, of course. Whether it be Annie from Annie or Dorothy from The Wiz, her talent was clearly taken note of by the drama department and her peers. Throughout most of her time at secondary school, she had the plan of following in her parents' footsteps to be an educator, a music-related teacher of sorts, but also torn between her love for songwriting and performing, stating, "I honestly didn't know if I had the nerve to go for my dream. My parents were both teachers and I respected them so much, I thought I could be a music teacher and be happy doing that." But her high school drama teacher had other plans. While she did end up attending the Canadian College of Performing Arts, one of the only 25 female students to gain admission in 2004, it wasn't as clear where it would lead her to. Out of school, she began looking for any and every minimum wage kind of employment she could find, jobs such as a barista, a pastry chef assistant, and a bartender to name a few, all while sleeping on the pull-out sofa and writing songs when she could. She was simply trying to keep her head above the water at this point, stating, "I still didn't know if I wanted to fight for it all my life or just settle into a 9-to-5 job and give up on it. I had some tough times back then, a monthly struggle to pay the bills." But all hope was not lost, especially not without the help of that high school drama teacher, Beverly Holmes. Holmes was so keen on Carly's talent and thought Canadian Idol might just be her golden ticket to success. So she applied, and Holmes ended up driving her to the studio. As she stepped on the stage in her red shirt, for the first time, her voice was finally heard by millions of people.
I wanted to start with a song that I wrote, so I brought my guitar. Alright, so this song's called Sweet Talker. It's hard, stakes are getting higher, no love for free, man, it costs if you're the buyer, my life for me, I see what you're putting me through. Lazy, I love won't you, slide me through your...
I'm going to tell Carly exactly what I think.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you're an absolute, bona fide, total star.
So what happened from that? Well, she made her way to third place, released a folk album, followed by a little song by the name of Call Me Maybe that charted for 50 weeks. In other words, just short of a year, topping the US Billboard charts for 9 of them, and since releasing some of the most critically acclaimed pop tracks and albums of the 21st century. Carly knew that with a song as big as Call Me Maybe, she had a huge opportunity and that she could either stay paralyzed forever or take advantage of and grind out tracks that would be heard by millions. She lit a fire under herself, releasing the sugary rush pop album Kiss the same year as her worldwide hit. A commercial success in many regards, and a project in which Jepsen was finally able to access big producers with, and even collaborate with the titular Owl City on the track Good Time. Carly continued as this non-stop music machine, show after show, track after track, not wanting to miss the window for success and the opportunity to do what she loved most, writing songs and performing them. Jepsen's next album, Emotion, an 80s-inspired and truly hard-on-your-sleeve collection of songs, received praise like no other project of hers at the time.
This new record here to be pretty sweet. I like it.
Acclaimed as spotless and the pop album of the year by some critics and fans, it found a true cult following. And if there's one thing notable about Carly, it is her following. They are not your run-of-the-mill group of fans, but rather a religiously dedicated group of people that will try and convert any and every one of their friends to the Jepsen fandom. Well, the track I Really Like You performed well internationally. To the surprise of many and her fandom, Emotion was a commercial flop in the US, as it failed to produce any hit singles, with not one song cracking the US top 30. Dedicated had Jepsen shift focus to a 90s-inspired synth-pop lovesick sound, but still stylistically and lyrically very similar to Emotion, following a similar narrative of her past projects of chasing and longing for love but never quite reaching it. Another extremely well-received album by many, performing in the top 20 much like Emotion, peaking at 16th on the Canadian album chart, but not touching the success of Kiss and her earlier hit singles. However, maybe it was a sign that something much bigger was across the horizon. In an interview, Carly described her switch-off method.
Learned of like the switch off button. I'm explaining this terribly, but try to follow me here.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You might feel this with performing where you're having a terrible day or something's going off or you just had a fight with your dad or something's happened and then you have to go perform. And it's really great if you can then press the switch off button and kind of be present and do the thing that you need to do.
But when faced with the worldwide crisis in 2020, there was no moment to distract herself with performances. Everything slowed down, and for many, including Jepsen, at first it was a relief to finally slow down. But quickly it became overwhelming and frightful as her typical routine was no longer possible. Without her usual ability to switch on and distract herself, getting lost in performances and writing, everything hit her all at once. After all, big life events don't just go away. So all the breakups, isolation, emotions, and the first loss of a family member all accumulated into one of the loneliest times. Loneliness is an extreme emotion, and like any potent feeling, it can cause real growth, as the sound on this album is nothing like we've heard before from her. More vulnerable tracks than ever before, and not tied to a specific genre like in her past albums. Her time alone was rough like yours and mine, but she came out with a greater understanding of herself and the importance of putting a pause on constantly producing to focus on cultivating stronger relationships with her family and herself. So about that comeback, and what that album means now and for the future. Well, the album charted at number 18 on the Canadian Albums Chart and 19 on the Billboard 200. It further debuted at number 16 on the UK Albums Chart, becoming her highest peaking album in the UK in 10 years. Carly also gained the attention on TikTok with a number 1 trending song. And it's hard not to mention that The Loneliest Time was released on the same day as Taylor Swift's album Midnights, causing some fans to create a ruckus of sorts on TikTok and other platforms. The album itself is an amalgamation of loss, nostalgia, love, and what loneliness can drive you to do. It started off strong with the first few tracks, from the classic spin on synth pop injected with a modern twist on Talking to Yourself, to the vulnerable tale on Surrender My Heart accompanied by a certified dance pop instrumental, to Joshua Tree's classic catchy Carly chorus. In Surrender My Heart and Ben's, we get to hear about the challenge of dealing with loss from Jepsen's perspective during the pandemic. From denial, this isn't happening, how can this be life, to regret and an inability to see them, it's too late for that flight, to the grief, here is a jar of all the tears I've cried. Another highlight is Western Wind, a track that feels like a cool breeze in the morning sun with its spacey production, rhythmic hand drums, and hidden synth patches. The song plays out like a true poem about nostalgia, referencing Carly's childhood and her family's peculiar activity, where after dinners they would move the furniture to the walls, cue up some music, and dance as a family. Carly realized as she spent time around other families that this wasn't a common tradition, but this memory, like so many others from her family, reminded her that it's all connected, and that even in isolation miles away from her family, this is so ingrained in her, and is a part of the reason she is who she is today. Beach House is a track that covers Jepsen's experience with downloading a dating app for the first time due to loneliness, and the tumultuous time of dealing with men such as the one who messaged her, "I have a beach house in Malibu," but also adding that they had a girlfriend. Sideways and Shooting Star are both these extremely bouncy, expansive instrumentals with catchy lyrics accompanied by a high-energy delivery that almost forces you to dance. Closing out the album, the two tracks Go Find Yourself or Whatever and The Loneliest Time conclude the project. The former track starts with an acoustic ballad about a breakup that feels all too real, which then picks up with an instrument note as a sidear that, in the context of the song, is definitely a risk, with its eccentric psychedelic feel and some unique drum choices that honestly end up working really well, followed up by the disco-inspired, grand, flavorful duet in The Loneliest Time with Rufus Wainwright. No matter your perception of this album, it can't be argued that Jepsen took some risks and explored pop yet again, with some really fresh sounds. This comeback is not only one about charts or TikTok, but one of channeling what has made you intrinsically you and delivering it in a unique way. To take the time one needs to go visit that relative, go spend that time with a friend, or to chase after a dream. But I'll leave it in Carly's words.
You gotta go for the most important thing to you, because you're just gonna regret anything else.
Thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Subscribe if you want to. And I hope you like Carly Rae Jepsen as much as I do now. And I'll see you in the next video.